Okay. I believe this is meant to be already recording. I've never done this before, so I have no idea. Let's go here. Here. Okay. So this should be good. This is the draft. As today, this is the 23rd of January 2023. And this is a table of content for discussion purposes only. Okay, let's discuss. Let's get started. Introduction to System Reference 5.1. Many ways to create, hurrah! Dungeons and Dragons content is available to you in many ways. The core D&D mechanics, which are located at pages 56 to 104, 254 to 260, and 358 to 359 of this system's reference document 5.1, but not the examples used on those pages. Okay, so we have about 50 to 60 to 2 pages, about 60 pages, give or take, of content that we can use from now on. I believe that is a lot less than it used to be before. That's what I've heard. So, okay. Licensed to you under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International. That means that Wizards is not placing any limitations at all on how you use that content, except that it may be used in the limitations of Creative Commons. That is, that if you create anything under this, it has to be Creative Commons as well. How is that going to pan out if you want to create something that you want to copyright for yourself, that you want to do something that no one else can use? That is a tricky one. Our copyrights in the ordered content included in the system's reference document are licensed to you under the Open Game License 1.2. Okay, so we have two different agreements within one single license. Oh, no, wait a second. Use of D&D content in virtual tabletops is allowed on the terms of Wizards virtual tabletop policy. So that's another agreement. Use of the D&D content in streaming fan art, cosplay, and other fan content is permitted as described in the Wizards fan content policy. So yet another agreement. Platforms such as D&D Beyond and DM's Guild provide additional paths to share your D&D content under different license terms. So basically, you're going to have to be dealing with Creative Commons, the Open Gaming License 1.2, which is the rest of what's going to come from now on, and the things that they are asking for some feedback on, and then another 1, 2, 3, and 4 different agreements depending on what you create. So yeah, that's not going to be easy to navigate. Maybe nothing's different from what it used to be, but not easy to navigate. Create a product badges, content published under the OGL 1.2. You may use one of the following badges in the manner specified in the Creator Product Badge Style Guide. Okay, so long as you comply with that guide using the badges, Wizard licenses you to use this badge on any of. Okay, so basically, as long as you comply with the corporate guidelines on the image of the company, you can use this thing. That means that you may not be able to put it smaller than certain size, or that it has to be in a particular place like the cover or the back of the book, that the kind of colors that you can use this with has to be specified. So maybe you cannot have, for instance, a rainbow one. You wouldn't be able to have that unless they authorized it. Okay, this is protecting their image. Fair enough. I don't have any problems with that, but it is something that you're going to have to keep in mind if you decide to use this creator product badge. Now, this is where things become tricky. Notice of the authorization of OGL 1.0a. The Open Game License 1.0a is no longer an authorized license. This means that you may not use that version of the OGL for any prior version to publish SRD content after whatever date they decide. It does not mean that any content previously published under that version needs to update to this license, doesn't it? Any previously published content remains licensed under whichever version of the OGL was in effect when you published that content. So in that case, I don't understand. Is it been deauthorized or deprecated? Because they're two different things. If you're deauthorizing the license, then as far as I'm concerned, that's it. You're not authorized to use it. So If you deprecate it and you're updating it, that's a different thing altogether. So I don't like this language. And I am not a lawyer. Okay, I cannot say whether this is correct or incorrect or whether it means something or does not. But it doesn't sound right that they are deauthorizing something from a specific date but still allow you to use it. That is very nebulous because if I decide, I wrote this thing in 2017 and I'm publishing it now, so I'm making it public now. So what is it? I don't know. It doesn't sound right to me. Open Game License 1.2. Here comes the meat. This is a license between Wizards of the Coast LLC, which is us, we are, okay, fine, and anyone who wants to use the license content in their own TTRPG, yours. You're basing our license content, you agree to the terms of this license. As used in this license, we or any other term referring to us includes affiliates, successors, and predecessors. Predecessors too. Damn. Okay, somebody's talking to me. Hello, the FCS one. The license Creative Commons Attribution not share alike, so you can use the CC license content without having to yourself share your work and the CC. Okay, that's good to know. However, it is only 58 pages of the CC, a very specific pages. Yes, and that to me is a very big issue because it limits an awful lot of stuff to basically mechanics that can they even be, can they register or anything? And that's the other thing. If they're authorized to legally deauthorize it, which is a bit, that's the tricky bit. And they don't need that. That's the thing that's driving me completely potty about this. Why go through that? They don't need to do it. Why don't just release an update? But hey, this is what they're deciding to do, so this is what we're looking at the moment. So, covert content. Our license content. This license covers any content in the SRD 5.1 or any subsequent version of the SRD we release under this license. So let's assume for a second that they release the SRD 5.1 and then they release next year or the year after that the SRD 5.2 with half the amount of content or with substantial changes to everything. Then what? What happens then? Do they need to update this license? Can people keep producing with the same amount of data? It's nebulous. This is tricky. Okay, that is not licensed to you under Creative Commons. You may use that content in your own works on the terms of this license. Okay, we are finding what those terms are. Our unlicensed content, only our licensed content is licensed under this license. Too many licenses here. Any other content we release or have released is not licensed to you under this license. Okay, so basically any other thing that they release, it's theirs and don't touch it. Fair enough, it's their property. I don't see any problem with that. Your content, yours. This is your creative contributions to your works that are not our licensed content or our unlicensed content. So if I invent whatever I want to invent. This license permits you to combine your content, good, with our licensed content, good, and distribute the resulting works as authorized by this license. Okay, so you can mix and match. Fine, good. Works covered. This license only applies to printed media and static, important bit, electronic files, such as EPUBs or PDFs, you create for use in or as tabletop role-playing games and supplements to TRPGs and in virtual tabletops in accordance to our virtual tabletop policy. And here we start to come into tricky areas because let's say that I have a Kickstarter for a product. Does this mean that I cannot use any animation to create the promo video for my Kickstarter? Does the answer mean that I cannot create animated maps for use in VTT? Because this thing specifically says static. So what do they mean with static and to what degree this applies. Because if I cannot promote my work to the best of my abilities, because I am not allowed to create an animation of whatever it is that I need to create, then what happens? And what happens if I do maps with birds flying, or clouds going by, or lighting effects? That's not static, technically. So how is this going to work? I think this needs an awful lot of okay. It's a way more complicated way of doing the product identity thing on the OGL1.0. I'm not sure if it's meant to be intentionally confusing or if a lawyer discovered an issue with the term. I don't know, but the point is that it is confusing. And as far as I'm concerned, anything in a license that is confusing means that it can be used against me in the future. And to be honest, I am not prepared to trust them at this stage, even if they're going through this. So, no, confusions, they have to go away. The intentions. Yeah, the intention is to screw up people. Sorry. Would be not a website. This is to prevent people from making SRD wikis, but it is vaguely worded, and the VTT policy is garbage anyway. So, okay, but this presents yet another problem. What happens with websites like Word Anvil? It's an absolutely wonderful resource. What happens then? What happens with a public forum? As in Ian Word, what's going on there? So it doesn't address the issue. It's still way too nebulous. So your license works. To be a license work under this license, it must. It was also here because my phone is a thingy. Be a covered work as defined in section 1B, okay, like this one here, fine. Contain both our licensed content and your content, okay, fine, and not contain our unlicensed content. Right. Oh, okay, yeah, fine. Well, I'm going to put, I'm hiding point 3 because that's going to be intense. License. In consideration for your compliance with this license, you may copy, good, use, good, modify, good, and distribute our licensed content around the world as part of your license works, fine. This license is perpetual, good, meaning that it has no set end date. Non-exclusive, okay, meaning that they can offer a license to our licensed content or our unlicensed content under any conditions we choose, fine, that's your content, that's fine. And irrevocable, meaning that content license under this license can never be withdrawn from the license. And I have another issue with that, because what happens if suddenly, say that I release a new setting, which is wonderful, and I decide that because of whatever policies Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro have in the future, I no longer want to be associated with this license. Does this mean that I cannot take it away? That I cannot take away the content, the content that I've put under this license and develop it under a different license? What does this mean? This is like, yeah, you want to be able to have that content under your license, and yeah, you're not going to take it away, but you're actually stopping me from taking it away too. That's how it reads. That is kind of fucking bullshit. Sorry. It also cannot be modified except for the attribution provisions of Section 5 and Section 9A regarding notices. What cannot be modified, the content or the license? I'm kind of lost in here. What is it that cannot be modified? The license. Okay, this is weird. This needs clarification, big time. Sections 5, we haven't got to that section 5 or 9 either. So, okay, now let's go for point 3. what you own. Your license works are yours. No shit. Okay, the license. Okay, so the license cannot be. Really? So this license is going to be static forevermore. So you're gonna have to make a home completely new one. Do you really want to do that? Yeah, well, that's kind of ridiculous. You're having all these problems, Wizards of the Coast, because your license is very difficult. 1.0 is very difficult to modify and change. And now you're going to do the same again? Uh, Hello? Dude, wake up. This is stupid. Okay, your license works are yours. Good. Thanks for letting me know. They may not be copied or used without your permission. Oh my god, you're acknowledging copyrights. That is absolutely fantastic. Exactly. So, as my friend here says, they claim that they can unilaterally revoke the license as they did under OGL. So, yeah, I think this is being written by more than one person and they're not talking to each other. This is bollocks. You acknowledge, though, this is where things begin to get boiling. You acknowledge that we and our licenses, as content creators ourselves, might independently come up with content similar to something you create. If you have a claim that we breach this provision, wait a second, let's go for that particular sentence. Your license work is yours. Mine, good, thank you. Kind of a copy. But if, casually it so happens that somebody creates something that is so similar that is virtually identical to what you have created, whoopsies. Um, that's, yeah. What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, content similar. What exactly does that mean? To what point is it similar? To what point is the point where you actually say, no, 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 this is a dragon, just like the one you created, but look, mine has less teeth. Or it is like, 1 meter shorter. Or the colors of the rainbow that it splits through its mouth come in different order. Hello? This is kind of bullshit. This is complete bullshit. It is very generic. Yes, this clause is there at behest of the film studio, TV Network, and A Studio is standard to all licenses. Yes, except that this license is only covering static content. So why should anything to do with TV networks or anything have to do with this license? Also, it's way, way, way too nebulous. And even if it is standard, it basically puts everyone in a position where if your work is pretty much plagiarized, you cannot do anything about it. Which is not good. It's not good at all. This needs to be a lot more nuanced because they could decide to fall under this clause here to actually pretty much but not quite copy absolutely anything they want, and not people will have just no say on that. It gets way worse because any such claim, if you decide to challenge them for plagiarism, any such claim will be brought only as a lawsuit for breach of contract and only for money damages, so not for copyright infringements. And the only thing that you would be able to accept would be money in exchange of that, assuming that you actually win the case, because you expressively agree that money damages are an adequate remedy for such a breach, and that you will not seek or be entitled to injunctive relief. So basically, you cannot send anyone to jail for copyright for plagiarizing your work. I can see that. But again, can you? Sorry, somebody is saying because if I come up with a module that has a plot point in D&D movie this week, and they claim, and then I claim that they rip off my idea, which they didn't. Filming is over. I can sue for ownership. Yeah, but that's not. That would be the other way around. I mean, that would be you coming up with something that they have already demonstrably be able to say we did it before. This was thought out beforehand. And yes, the situation is common. But can you see the point where if they decided to come out with, okay, I'm going to give you a proper example. Let's say that a project that I was involved with, the Dragon Kings from Tim Brown, that they decide to come up with a world that is virtually identical to that one in the future. Not exactly the same, but very very similar, where they change, the size of some of the species in there, and they change a little bit of the history. Not much, just a little bit of the history. I wouldn't be able to do anything about that because it is similar. So it is, yeah, it's not tricky. It's too nebulous, that thing. It feels to me too much like in the previous, in the leaked document, how they say, no, we are going to own any right of anything that you publish. This is a way to say we could do the same by just making minor changes. That's how it reads to me. And again, quite frankly, I don't have a reason to believe that they wouldn't do it if they saw something that they liked enough. Why wouldn't they? And the other thing is, in any such lawsuit, you must show that we knowingly and intentionally copied your licensed work. How on earth could you possibly prove that? How could a 3PP, a third party, somebody who produced things cheaply, how could they possibly be able to prove that? It's incredibly, incredibly difficult. Very, very difficult. Access and substantial similarity will not be enough to prove a breach in this section 3. This is bad. This is absolutely terrible. And I don't care if this is something common or not. This is absolutely terrible and leaves people very open to have their work very similarly copied and with barely anything to do, because proving that would be horrifically difficult. Yeah. It could be as well in anywhere else. I don't really know, but I'm just looking at this from the creator point of view. It sounds absolutely horrible. It just sounds like they could copy anything and keep it just by tweaking a few things here and there. And it would be incredibly difficult for me to claim any ownership or any infringement on that. It would be very hard. So what we own our licensed content and reserve all right not expressly granted in this license. That is indeed fair enough. You control your content, you can make your content available under any terms you choose, but you may not change the terms under which we make our licensed content available. Fine. So that's fair enough. You must clearly indicate that your licensed work contains our licensed content under this license, either by including the full text of this license in your licensed work or okay, fine. This is like the previous one. That's okay. You may permit the use of your content or any terms you want. However, if any license you offer to your licensed work is different from the terms of this license, you must include in the licensed work the attribution of our licensed content found in the preamble of this applicable SRD, and make clear that licensed content, including your licensed work, is made available on the terms of the license. Fair enough. If you're going to, mix different things, different licenses, you have to make sure that they're both there. Fine. Warranties and disclaimers. You represent and warrant that age and capacity to be bound. Kinky. You are over the age of majority, or if younger, have had your parent or guardian review these terms and agree to them on your behalf. Fine. That's fair. Authority. You have the power of authority to enter into this license and perform its obligations. That's also fair. No infringement. Your license works do not and will not infringe any third party's intellectual property rights or any of our rights not licensed to you by this license or any other. But what if I have copied something, substantially similar to what somebody else is doing? Does that work? Yeah. See how it begins to break. It may not. No endorsement. Except as otherwise expressed allowed by this license, you will not state, suggest, or imply that your licensed work are endorsed by or associated with us. Yeah, that's fair enough indeed. Because if you were to endorse that one, then you do it yourselves, I guess. No illegal conduct. You will not violate the law in any way regarding to this license or your licensed work. Where? The law, where? Laws change from place to place. So the law, if this is ruled by the law in the United States, I think you should mention it. It may be somewhere else, but it needs to be mentioned because the law is a bit... Yeah, where? The law where? No hateful content or conduct. You will not include content in your licensed work that is harmful, discriminatory, illegal, obscene, or harassing, or engage in conduct that is harmful, discriminatory, illegal, obscene, or harassing. We have the sole right to decide what conduct or content is hateful, and you covenant that you will not contest any such determination via any suit or other legal action. What constitutes that? Because don't get me wrong, I would constitute transphobic content as harmful, but other people may not. I understand why this is here, and I support something like this. But there are no definitions of any of these things. There is no framework upon which to define what constitutes illegal. Where exactly? Where exactly? Because what happens if I describe marriage or intercourse between two 16-year-old boy and girl? That is legal in Spain. What if it is not legal in the US? Then what? Some people might consider that harmful. For us, it's not, because that is perfectly recognized. So there is no framework around no hateful content or conduct. I can see the intention and I applaud it. I think this is very good. But this is very bad. I mean, this is not telling me pretty much anything. The very good example that's been given here in the chat, somebody saying free Palestine, some people may find that as hateful against Israel, and vice versa. So what are we talking about? Some people consider the BLM movement harmful, and most people, same people don't. So another thing, you don't define obscene. You're making some very good points in there. And considering, good point indeed, that the GM's Guild banned an LGBTQI plus book last year in 20, it's a bit, excuse me, this is one good intention really gone very, very wrong indeed. This is completely not a bullshit. This is just not good enough at any point whatsoever, because you also reserve the right to decide what content is hateful or not, which is fair enough indeed. At the end of the day, it's your license, it's your image. You have to do that. But you are not telling me what constitutes. You are not giving me any guidelines. And I'm sorry, but common sense is not going to cut it. This needs to be specified very, very well indeed. Or simply say that you reserve the right to withdraw the license if the work doesn't live up to the ethical standards of the company at the time. Sorted. So this is ridiculous. Modification or termination. Modification. We may only modify the provisions of this license identifying the attribution required under Section 5 and the notice provision of Section 9A. We may not modify any other provision, okay? Oh, absolutely. Exactly. Abstruse one. I don't know your name. I'm so sorry, mate. I can only call you by by your nickname that I can read here, and I really appreciate your input. Believe me, it's wonderful having you there. So yes, exactly. What happens if the company changes hands, next year or the year after, and things go completely awry? Then what? Would what happens if Muskie decides to buy Hasbro next? Then what? This no hateful or content or conduct is a good idea, but it's incredibly poorly executed. Termination. We may immediately terminate your license if you infringe any of our intellectual property. Fair enough. Bring an action challenging our ownership of our licensed content, trademarks, or patents, violate any law in relation to your activities under this license, or violate Section 6F. So there is one thing here that springs to mind. Bring an action challenging our ownership of our licensed content. This is interesting because what happens if I see something that is so similar to my work that you have published and I decide to sue you for that? Suddenly all the work that I've done, gone. The license are completely revoked, terminated. So it's not really that irrevocable, is it? You are saying here that you can revoke this license. That is a very tricky one. And don't get me wrong, I understand there must be a way to terminate the license if you need, because exactly, we have the Mr. Justin Lasagna all over the place, that it's a bit, yeah, we don't want you to associate it with us. Goodbye. So this needs to be there, but I don't think that, bring an action challenging our ownership of our licensed content, considering that you reserve the right to bring things that are very similar and that you tell me that I have to prosecute or sue through a specific channel. Yeah, we may terminate your license if you breach any other term in this license, and do not cure that breach within 30 days of notice to you of the breach. Okay, you see, that makes more sense. Hey Paco, you're fucking up with this one, change it. Okay, fair enough, that I have no issues with. Disclaimer of warranties and limitations of liability. You understand and agree that we are providing the license content assist, and make no representation or warranty of any kind concerning your use of the license content except as expressly stated in the license. We disclaim our warranty express implies statutory, otherwise you break all risk of using the license content as only at your own discretion or risk. That's a very long. Okay, that was very long. Okay, no, that's fair enough. That's saying that if I use this license and the world goes tits up, the world goes tits up. And if I use this license and I use it in accordance with laws that don't apply in my country, then kind of thing. I get this. That's fine. We have no liability to you or any types of damages in connection with your use of our licensed content, including without limitation. Fine. So if I do some work and somebody sues me, you're not going to be liable for whatever happens between those, that prosecution. Fair enough. Why would you? I mean, that's giving me a framework. Miscellaneous notices. We may notify you by any email or physical address we can locate for you. Only we can locate your email or physical address after a reasonable search. Notice via public channel is sufficient. You may provide us your email, physical address, and other notice by mail. Okay, fine. So it's a good idea to let, hey wizards, I'm doing this. Fine. However, considering that most of the work, or an awful lot of the work, can be sold through DM's Guild, so you're going to have those people. I mean, yeah, fine, fair enough. No, I can see this. I can understand because blogs come and go, people disappear, and PDFs continue to be sold or distributed or what have you. Entire agreement, disclaimer or reliance This license governs use of our license content. This license consists only of the terms expressly included herein and not any matter not expressly included herein. Fine. In accepting this license, you represent on warrant to us that you have relied only on the terms of the license and the advice of your own counsel. If any, you have not relied on anything that is not expressly part of this license. Okay, that's very confusing. Oh, wow, they could do that. They could. Wow, holy shit! Wow, 1.1 was really, really bollocks, wasn't it? Good grief. No waiver of rights. If we fail to exercise any right we have under this license, that failure will not prevent us from exercising that right in the future. Okay, I don't know how that works. Legally speaking, I mean, I can see what you're doing there. Just in case you forget the license is there or that you don't take action against somebody immediately enough. I know, I suppose, with trademarks, if you don't defend them on time, you could lose them. So I wonder if this is trying to guard their backs against something similar going on in the future. I don't know what the laws regarding this is. I can see why they're doing it, but yeah, again, it doesn't sound all that sound to me. Severability. If any part of this license is held to be unenforceable or invalid for any reason, like, if somebody challenged it in court and court decided that something in this license is bollocks, for instance, Wizards may declare the entire license void. Oh, so it's not really that irrevocable anymore, either as between it and the party that obtained the ruling or in its entirety. Unless Wizards elects to do so, the balance of this license will be enforced as if that part which is unenforceable or invalid did not exist. So if at some point this were challenged or the laws changed or simply is just not legal to enforce something here in a country like mine, you reserve the right to take away all of this and keep operating the license without that little chunk. Okay. So it's not irrevocable. And it's not perpetual either. Yeah. Sorry. Governing law jurisdiction class action waiver. Okay, this is interesting. This license and all matters relating to its interpretation and enforcement will be governed by the laws of the state of Washington. Fine. And any disputes arising out or relating to this license will be resolved solely and exclusively through individual litigation in the state or federal courts located in the county in which Wizards or any successors has its headquarters and the parties expressly consent to the jurisdiction of such court. Each party hereto irrevocably waives the right to participate in any class, collective, or other joint action with respect to such a dispute. Wait a second here. Understand about having to be in the state of Washington. You don't want to move away. Fine, fair enough. But I wonder though I wonder what happens if I publish something here in my very own country that I own, of course, and you sue me here, and I say, I ain't going. Then what? You're gonna send me a bill that I am not ever gonna pay, and are you going to, have to bring the case here in the EU, where the EU is going to say, yeah, don't apply? Then kind of what happens? And I know this is not just for this license, and it was probably the same in the previous, but it's just something that I've always wondered. It's a very nice little declaration of intent, but at the end of the day, I don't know. It's kind of weird. What I find really weird, each party here to irrevocably waives the right to participate in any class, collective, or other joint action with respect to such a dispute. So, that I don't understand. I literally don't understand. Irrevocably waives the right to participate in any class, collective or other joint action with respect to such a dispute. So two people would not be able to sue at the same time. It would have to be two different claims. Is that what it means? Because I don't know. Okay, I don't know what that means. That's one that needs clarification. The headings and the footnotes contained in this license are for reference purposes only and shall not affect in any way the meaning or interpretation of this license. Okay, fine. Review by counsel. You should seek advice of counsel to make sure you understand this license. And yeah, no kidding, mate, because you're making it really hard to understand, I can tell you. You agree that you had the opportunity to do so. Ouch. Ouch. You have to sue individually. That's bullshit, mate. What happens if, oh, this is bollocks. Wow, individually. Oh, that it's just making things very hard for no reason. Draft for including virtual temperature. Okay, one more page. As games announced. No, me neither. That's the thing. That's what I don't understand about all this. All this thing. It's CC attribution. Creative Commons is pretty much recognized absolutely anywhere. And any court in Spain would take the Creative Commons attribution and you would be able to run with it. But the moment that you try to confine the laws to not just one country, but one state within that country, it makes it hard for everyone. And yeah, I understand this is quite common. I mean, I've signed an awful lot of contracts when I licensed some books to publish here in Spain. The contract specifically said that if there's any dispute, it would have to be in the courts in the United States. When I have licensed books to be published in Spanish, it's been the other way around, and I said that everything has to be done here in Valencia, in Spain. I know it is pretty common, but what I'm trying to say is that considering how nebulous, how prone to issues this could be, it's just, this is telling me, don't worry about it. Just do whatever. Fuck it. They can come to you because they're not making it easy, like at all. And considering that Hasbro is a multinational company, I cannot see a reason why Hasbro wouldn't be able to sue me here in my country because they have offices. I mean, literally Hasbro has offices about 15 minutes walk in that direction. I could go to their offices and say, what the hell are you thinking this morning? So I don't see what is the point of that. I think they should be including, they could be taking this litigation anywhere else. Otherwise, I just can do whatever I want and they're never going to catch me. So why should I bother? Oh, look, there's something in there. There's a shine from a light. Sorry about that. So Will of Wisp. So why does Wizards need a VTT policy? That's a stupid question. We support the role of VTTs play in the tabletop space. The ability to game remotely means more people can game, and it's wonderful that people thousands of miles apart can share space and blah, blah, blah. But as VTTs advance, that functionality will raise tricky questions. Where is the line between VTT and a video game? See, that's what I was talking about earlier. When does VTT become more than just a replacement for the traditional tabletop? Those questions require thoughtful answers. Answer them will take time. What is permitted under this policy? Using VTTs to replicate the experience of sitting around the table with playing D&D with your friends. Okay? Okay, but yeah, I can understand. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not even going to begin. I'm not even going to imagine what U.S. law must be like. Okay, I am no lawyer. I can barely have a grasp of the law here in Spain, and the law here in Spain is considerably easier than that in the US. I mean, it must be brutal being an attorney in the United States. It must be like, so I can understand that. I really can't understand that. But even so, um, yeah, not keeping in mind international law, it's a bit weird to me. But hey, so displaying static, again that word, SRD content is just fine because it's like looking in a source book. You can put the text of Magic Missile up in your VTT and use the calculator and apply damage to your target. An automatic Magic Missile damage to replace manually running calculator. What isn't permitted are features that don't replicate our dining room table storytelling, like clouds moving on the map. If you replace your imagination with animation of magic missiles streaking across the board to strike your target, or your VTT integrates our content into an NFT, yeah, NFTs are bullshit. That's not the tabletop experience. That's more like a video game. Okay, so let me see if I can see these clearly. I could have a VTT in 3D with a 3D mini that I can move by hand. But I couldn't have a lighting effect from that mini to another 3D model. That would be more like a video game. I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks that that is completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Also, why are you mentioning NFTs here in particular? I think this should have its own clause altogether. And simply like saying, no NFTs will be made out of any licensed content made by it. This license are covered by it. Wizards of the Coast owns the concept of animations. If you use animations, you're violating the OGL. That was sarcasm. Okay, I got ya. That was sarcasm. May I make my VTT Owl Bear token look like the one from the Monster Manual? No. Ouch. We've never licensed visual depictions of our content under the OGL, just the text of the SRT. That hasn't changed. You can create a creature called an owl bear with the stat block from the SRD. You cannot copy any of our owl bear depictions, but if you draw your own unique owl bear or somebody else did, you can use it. Okay. So basically what you're saying here is don't take our copyrighted commissioned artwork. Fine. What about OGL 1.0? Does this policy apply to that? Yes, you can upload your already licensed content to a VTT. Fine. I own or operate a VTT. How does this affect me? If you are a VTT owner or operator who supports OGL products on your platform, you have the same obligations for VTT content as any other website owner or operator has for copyrighted content under the MCA. Okay, fine. You say this in a conversation. Does that mean this policy can change? Yes. We need your feedback as the tabletop space evolves. The potential of VTT is tremendous and exciting, and we don't want to harm their development. Of course you don't want to harm your development. You want to make your own one, for goodness sake. So, okay, I haven't looked into this. I'm sorry, but the level of bullshit here is still way, way too high. There are some clauses that are incredibly nebulous. There are some that make an awful lot of sense. Yes, it is better than the 1.1, especially because we only have 6 pages, and the last one is just a guideline that doesn't really mean anything. To be honest with you, there's only one truly useful answer here, which is tokens, but there's yet another one that raises too many concerns regarding static. That just doesn't make much sense. So overall, it is an improvement from 1.1, but I don't think this is a license that I would feel comfortable signing with, because it has way, way too many holes, way too big to make any sense at all. It's too dangerous. So Anyway, this has been it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Obtuse One. You're an absolute gem, and I adore you. And hopefully, one day I can go to the US and we can have a beer somehow. That would be amazing. And humans, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Seriously. Until the next time, take very good care of yourselves.